Hey, what's up guys, this is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the Sexy Ice 2019, I almost said 2099, Vermin series UNKVAL Eliminator. And to some of you that's going to be like, what? I don't know, is it their own line of figures? I don't think there's anything this is based on. I looked it up once before and I didn't find anything, so I think it's just their own IP, which is fine by me. I'm perfectly happy with new IP. All IP started as new IP at some point, and so I'm very good with that. Let's do a question of the day. Do you guys ever collect things that are new IP, brand new things? I know some of you do for sure, and some of you don't for sure, but I want to hear your thoughts on that. Are you just totally not interested if it's not a known thing? Or are you willing to get into a new thing or create a new thing by supporting it and letting it grow and flourish? Let me know how you feel about that. But to me, this is a new thing. I don't believe there's any source material other than their own minds, which is always cool. I like that when it's a good design, and they clearly have a strong design philosophy here. So I'm happy to look at the figure, and it looks like it's pretty darn good. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. All right, before we look at the figure, I do want to show you my package, and it's a pretty cool package. Very stylized on the front. Very hard to read what's back there if you don't know what it is, but it's a cool looking package. Don't usually see packaging go sideways like this for the main image. Then up here you have, I guess, their slogan. On the side, you don't get much. On the bottom, you don't get much, and on the back, you don't get much. So very interesting packaging. And then when you open it, it's kind of cool the way they have the kind of coffin-shaped window. But otherwise, it's pretty basic packaging. I mean, it's fine, but there's nothing aesthetically super about it, so it's not going to maybe be the best displayable thing. All right, this guy unfortunately is not in stock at Big Bad Toy Store. I'll put a link. Sometimes things go back in stock if they get a second batch or things like that. Usually there's going to be a pre-order thing on there rather than sold out, but I'll put a link just in case, and even still, you can just click on it to look and see what the information is about the figure if you want to. So I'll put that down there, but he is not available at this time. All right, he's a little bit tall. He stands about 6 3/4 inches to the top of the noggin. That's going to make him roughly, we'll call it 17.2 centimeters. Here he is up against Darwin. I would easily fit that in with a Marvel Legends collection if you wanted to. He's going to be too small for 7-inch. So I would say he's 1/12 scale. All right, and I've had a lot of people asking. I had this guy pre-ordered from the very first time it went up. People have been asking me to review Sexy Ice figures, review them. I was like, I will as soon as it comes in, and it's here. And I have to say, it is as good as I thought it was going to be. It is essentially if you took a Revoltech and changed all the things I don't like about Revoltech and made it a better figure. Sorry, Revoltech. There's one thing that I'm still a little bit irritated by, but we'll get into that. But this figure is the way to do this type of articulation scheme. And for the most part, the reason I say it's a better Revoltech is because it does a lot of the things that Revoltech should do, but they don't. They still have like the swivelly hips that are weird and stuff like that. This guy doesn't have that kind of stuff. It's like a mix of, I guess, Revoltech and something better. So we'll talk about that as we go into the articulation. But first, let's talk about the aesthetic. I love it. The design philosophy is very consistent, very uniform. It looks very nicely done. It looks like it was designed with a purpose, and I'm pleased with that. Kind of like a semi-retro futuristic sort of thing. Not retro futurism, different thing. It has kind of an old school vibe to future, and I like that. And the paint job in Sculpt is nice. It's clean. It kind of reminds me of Briareos a little bit, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some inspiration there, but that's fine. Inspiration's always a thing for everybody everywhere. But yeah, the paint job, color scheme, color selection's nice. The metallics are slightly metallic, not glaringly, except for the silver, which is super shiny and nice, but it's like a flat shiny. Very cool. The paint job, nice and clean on there. Yeah, it's a sharp sculpt. It looks really nice, and then like I said, the paint job matches it wonderfully. Even those little lines, like, it's on the back, so it doesn't matter that much, but it's very well painted. So I hope they continue to flesh this out more. They do have, you know what, I'll put a link in the description below for this other thing. I'm not interested in it because it's like basically the same body with some extra parts on it, but it's like a football theme, and I don't care about football, American football, by the way. So I don't really want it, but it looks like a cool figure, so I'll link that down below instead, in fact. So if you already clicked the link thinking it was something else, I'm sorry. I'll put both links, how's that? But yeah, anyway, it looks really nice. The sculpt is good, the proportioning is good, the silhouette is nice, paints are nice. I have no complaints as far as the aesthetic goes. So I'm gonna go. That doesn't mean it's perfect, because like you could have more paint or cleaner paint in some places, but it's still pretty darn good. So I'm gonna go 9.9 out of 10. I can't say it's a perfect thing. There are a few little issues here and there, but nothing to be concerned with at all. Okay, so let's talk about the accessories. Now, this is actually where I think the figure is kind of weak. And I don't say that to say that there's not a lot of accessories. We're gonna go through them all. There's a bunch. There's a few key ones I think would have made this guy much better. Well, maybe not much better, but a little bit better. All right, so let's start with the hands. He's got a decent spread of hands. I think that's probably enough. That's fine. Alternate head. So we have the normal head that comes on him with like the three-eyed visor whole thing, face mask, and then you get the one where there's no face mask, but really it makes it look like the face mask has been slid up. And so it reveals the skull-type robotic face underneath. But here's the thing that bothers me, and this is purely subjective, purely like a personal design thing. If you look at the normal head, you can see some like robotic teeth underneath. Okay, you can't do anything with that. This doesn't move at all, but you can see those there. So I was expecting when the visor goes up, those teeth would be there. Oh no, I dropped it. But instead, there's nothing. It's just the single red dot eye. So to me, this is a bummer. This is a miss. I wanted it to be more dynamic and more dramatic. This face to me is almost useless. It's just too dark and it doesn't have really anything visually interesting. Yeah, you get the little spikes coming out of where the visor holes were, but to me that's a bummer. So I was really hoping for something that revealed a much more dynamic, interesting face. Purely subjective. You guys can let me know what you think about that, but that's what I was hoping for. So decent head though, it's fine if you like it. And then hands. Then here's what you get for weapons. You get one big knife. There's no place to put it on his body, and we'll talk about that in a second. One cool hammer. I like the hammer. And one big gun. These are the main weapons. Now the thing about the gun, just purely again, well, it's not purely subjective, I guess. They put this big old canister where the foregrip would be and gave him a side grip where the charging handle would be. And then that does make it awkward for him to hold it. Like, yeah, you can get a couple cool poses with him grabbing that side grip like it's a chainsaw from Gears of War. But he can't really hold it properly because the foregrip is not there. You can kind of wedge his hand, not wedge, but put his hand between the mag and that whatever canister thing is. And yeah, he can hold it like a normal rifle, but that strange, futuristic, weird design on that gun does make it awkward for posing, which is why it's not purely subjective. It's a weird-looking gun. I don't care for it personally, but it doesn't make any sense. But it doesn't work for posing as well because of those choices. And then the last thing you get other than the display stand is the shield, which is really nice. I think this is a really cool design. It's pretty small. It has like an eye hole for like if you're trying to see through it and use it as like to protect your body. But the way it's designed and the way he holds it is not really for that. So it's, again, it's a cool looking shield, but it's not quite what I was expecting it would be. Based on its own design, again, that's not a real big deal. And then, like I said, lastly, we do get a display stand, which I love. So it's a good spread of accessories. No problem there, 9 out of 10. Plenty of things. But I do think a different design for the head or an alternate head would have been really cool. I think the rifle does leave something to be desired because it's awkward for him to hold, and it's really big for him to do one-handed, which leads me to my other thing. No pistol. No one-handed gun, I think is a misstep given the shield. Yes, you can use it with his weapons, of course. One weapon in one hand and a shield in the other. That's fine, but I would probably have thrown in a pistol if it was up to me. And that's why I'm talking about it, because it's my review, but obviously it's their choice, and that's fine. That's why it's still got a 9 out of 10, but this is my insight. And there's no place to put the weapons on the body, and I want to talk to you guys about that because I'm torn. Do we want sheaths, or do we not want sheaths? Or are you indifferent? I'm indifferent, I think. Like having the hammer clip onto his back somewhere would have been pretty cool, I think. Or the big-ass knife going in a boot sheath or something like that. But at the same time, I like the sleekness, I like the clean look of the design, so I don't know that I would actually prefer the weapons to be attached. At least the gun, maybe. Like, if you could throw the gun on his back, that might be a pretty good look. So I would like to see that, and there's no way to do it, unless there's a panel back here that pops off, but I'm almost positive there's not. So yeah, that's just kind of a thing that I wanted to talk about. It's not really a critique, it's just a question. Do you guys like being able to store weapons on the figure, or would you rather have the sleek, unencumbered design? I'm kind of in the middle on that. Okay, so far we're doing pretty well. It looks great, 9.9, accessories 9. Can it pose? Well, you're probably guessing it can, since I said it's like a better version of a Revoltech. But let's see. So we do have a double ball peg for the head, single ball peg for the neck. It's worth noting he does have this type of shroud helmet design and a big ass collar going around, so that'll get in the way. but you can move the neck around really well. So he looks down well, side to side, the neck moves very nicely, and the head moves on top of it nicely too. So you can tuck that helmet shroud into the collar a little bit, and you can pose him pretty well. The only thing you're not going to get a lot is like looking straight up. That's not happening, but otherwise it does move nicely, so I'm happy with that. Now the shoulders, there's no butterfly system at all. There is no sliding like lat muscle or anything like that. This is not a Revoltech in that sense, but it does have just the big old ball hinge with the arm that sticks out from it. Now, that being said, this is a different design because they just have a tiny ball peg, which they did a really good job with tolerances because, I mean, the ball peg itself isn't tiny, but compared to the arm, I would have expected a more substantial joint, but it holds on nice. It's not loose at all. At first, I didn't even know there was a joint there. I thought it was a straight peg, or I should say I didn't know there was a ball, but it works well. My only critique, and this is the thing I said that I wasn't going to be too happy with, is that the shoulder is just the ball. Obviously, you have this big piece of armor on here that you can move around to hide that ball, and it doesn't make a difference. But if it was a sculpted shoulder rather than just a ball, it would look a lot nicer. And give them a chance to do some more design element and another design element, and you don't just have a round sphere, a smooth sphere. But that being said, it is very functional, and this is on a ball peg too, so you can move the shoulder pad around, but he can raise his arm up nicely. It's in a very natural way because they do have that Revoltech style joint combination. And then of course it does rotate around. You have to get a little you have to pay attention to what you're doing because otherwise it'll rotate at an angle. But yeah, obviously you can raise the arm all the way up and then bringing the arm across the chest. Oh, by the way, these guys do have a lot of grease in the joints, so be aware of that. You can bring the arm across the chest about that far easily, but then what you want to do is pop that joint out a little bit farther. That extra ball joint in there, pop that out. You can get the arm across the chest very nicely, and it works well. It works really no problem at all, other than that joint is there and ugly, so don't look at it from that angle, but you can rotate that around and hide it. So like I said, it's really not an issue that they did the smooth ball. I just would have liked to see some sculpt work there, because it's already cut out, so you can use a sculpted joint if you wanted to, a sculpted shoulder. But yeah, that works nicely. The shoulder is very, very nicely done, and it'll rotate at the shoulder, of course, where that ball socket is, but then you also get a bicep swivel, so that helps even more for like going across the chest and stuff, and that looks nice too. It works well. It's a good combo. For the elbows, it's like a Revoltech, kind of. We have a hinge here, which is just a standard hinge, and then you have a little ball hinge down here, so you do get that gappy elbow like Revoltech if you want to have the most range. It's super gappy and ugly, and I still hate that. I get it, so it's fine. But I find myself never wanting to use the extra range because of that gap. I tend to want to do the joint like that. So there's no gap, but then significantly less range. So you have the choice, so it's not a complaint. It's just I tend to not use the extra range, and you may find the same, find it to be the same for you. But if you do want the range, it is there. And then for the wrist, it's a ball peg. It's like Storm's, actually. It's a ball socket down here and then a ball hinge at the wrist. So you get extra range in there, and that works well for like the weapon holding hands. That's nice. For the torso, straight up ball pegs. Everything works really well. Leans back nicely, no gaps. Ball pegs are the way to go. Ball peg here, double here. Like it's just the way that everything should be made at this point, unless there's some specific reason why it can't. I've been saying this for years, and more companies are doing it and proving me right over and over again, and I don't care about being right other than the fact that it does make better figures. So this is nice. You just have unlimited posability in the torso. The range is there, like he's leaning forward farther than Marvel Legends do with their goofy ass upside down ab crunches. He leans back nicely. If it wasn't for the gear on him, he could go even farther. No significant gapping. It's very, very nice. And here's another inside baseball thing for you. I've mentioned this in a few reviews. Specifically, I've said it in Marvel Legends, I think. You have to articulate the torso one way or another, and humans aren't as thick as they are wide, typically speaking. The problem, I'll use Hasbro for an example. I'm not bagging on them here. This is to talk about this. Hasbro's figures are very thin front to back, so they're very ovular, and it does hurt the articulation. What you need to do if you want to have good range like this is just cheat a little bit and make the torso way rounder, so that it's almost as thick going front to back as it is wide. And this guy's probably pretty darn close to a circle. But the reason you can do that is if you're using ball joints, you need spherical range. So if you make this torso thicker front, or the lower torso thicker front to back, make it rounder at the waist, you get so much better range in every direction without any crazy gapping. Whereas if it was an oval, you wouldn't be able to do that. if it was longer sideways than it is front to back. So they did a great job of making this guy's torso very round, and it's so much better, so much easier to work with. He does have a complete floating crotch, which I'm a fan of. I've been designing figures like this for a while now, so I like that a whole bunch. It's gappy, but not in a way that you can really tell, and it just rests on the other parts. Now for the hips, I think it's just ball pegs. It looks to me like it's ball pegs. So he doesn't have the best splits, just going straight out to the side. It's a weird design. I'm not 100% sure how they've done it. I think it's close to a Revoltech, just not as bad. But it does look to me to be just ball pegs. So you can kick up pretty high, but it goes out to the side some. I'll put one down. It's not bad. It's totally fine. But yeah, it is closer to a Revoltech, and I'm pretty sure that the joint is at an angle on the inside, but the joints out here are not. So it should be okay. Let's see what we can do. Like, yeah, you're going to get the range. The hips are a little weird. They're not anywhere near as annoying as a Revoltech, but you can definitely see the influence on that design. So let's do another question of the day, by the way. I've never had a problem with this, like, as a rule. Like, I suppose some figures. I know some people have commented before saying they don't like the really skinny crotches. I get it, but to me, I do like that because I'm insecure. No, because it allows the legs to get closer together, and it makes the figure look so much nicer, and you can make that thigh have the right mass. Upper legs get bigger as they go up. If you look at a bodybuilder, their thighs are huge at the crotch area. And this helps a lot in making that really skinny. You can make the legs thick, and that's what makes this figure look so dynamic and strong and powerful, and it's a really good design choice. Now we have to talk about the knees. The knees work. I'll show you. It's a double jointed knee, so you get an obvious hinge right here, and then up here you would expect another hinge, and it's there, and unless mine is just tight or something, it doesn't do much. It's like it doesn't want to go anywhere. And that's okay, and that's typically how you design an elbow joint. You don't have the top joint do as much, and you have the bottom joint do more. And that's fine for range purposes, but in this case, it makes the knee look weird. It's not a big deal, of course, but if they flipped those two parts, so if the hinge was up here, and the part that barely moved was at the bottom, it would have the kneecap farther forward rather than having this big hinge visible. And I think it would look a lot better, but functionally this is fine, and it's still not a bad looking knee joint. But the cool thing about this knee joint is you also have this joint down here, which a lot of companies are starting to do. This is very well implemented. I'm not generally a huge fan of this because it makes the leg look broken in a lot of poses like that. But when you use that joint in conjunction with the other ones, you can't really tell that you're using an extra joint, and you get a really deep knee bend. I don't think you're really going to need to go forward too much with that, but you do get that option. It is a boot swivel as well, so that's pretty cool. And then for the ankle, they go all the way back. These are kind of like Revoltech. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing. Then going forward, not as much, but it's fine. And then the ankle rocker is really good. And then the toe hinge, well sculpted, well placed, no complaints there. So very nice, very, very nice set of articulation. A few minor weird things like the hips aren't maybe as good as they could be. You know, a couple issues with the elbows looking bad with some range, but generally it's excellent. So I'm going to go 9.8 out of 10. It's pretty damn good. This is a really, really, really nice figure. It's been very well thought out, very well implemented, very well executed. Generally speaking, like from just a user review sort of perspective rather than a really technical in-depth review, it's wonderful. It's excellent. It's everything you would want it to be. Obviously, we have to go a little bit more technical than that because otherwise, what's the point? But it's just great. It is wonderful. I hope to see this line and this brand make more and more figures. It's really, really great. I'm going to give it an overall rating of 9.9 out of 10. Yeah, he's a little bit expensive, but not a lot at all compared to other brands like, I don't know, Mafex or Revoltech, for instance. And this figure is way nicer than either of those. This figure is nicer than anything I've reviewed from either of those brands. By a lot. So that's my take on it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, but I will stop talking. That's an almost 20-minute video. Wow. Good figures make me talk a lot. I guess bad ones do too, but this one's nice. Alright, there it is. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. And if you haven't subscribed, you should. I have new videos just about every single day, and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.